Hi, this is The Recovering Perfectionist. I'm Claire Barton and you're in the right place at the right time. If you're starting to feel like some of your perfectionism is really getting in the way of you moving forward, getting started or finishing anything, this is absolutely the right show for you. This is rehab for your perfectionism, baby, so grab yourself a glass of wine or a cuppa and let's get stuck into it. Hi everyone, it's Claire here from The Recovering Perfectionist and I'm here with the amazing Geddis, who is an intuitive coach and mentor, and she helps women create more confidence and clarity in their business and in their life using things like their emotion and their thoughts and their emotions and all of that sort of thing. And I'm sure I've been completely inarticulate in that, so I'm going to hand over to you, Karen, to tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do and your beautiful business.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, well, intuition is my thing, and I love helping women to hone that higher guidance so that they can create more energy and more time and more money in their life and business. And where the emotions and the thoughts come in is that our intuition kind of lives in a high vibe place, and in order for us to be able to have that connection open, we need to be vibrating higher, and that's our thoughts is what keeps us out of that high vibrational place. So so I weave the two together to help women to really leverage that guidance and use it to let their business lead them rather than pushing into the business.
Yeah, and I think it's such an important kind of space, and I've loved watching your messaging and that sort of thing in the last couple of months since you've come into my world and we've come into each other's world in 1,000 different ways. And in fact, and I'd love to come back to that high vibe thing, because it's a bit of a kind of I don't know if it's a catchphrase or if it's just in my circle of what I'm seeing at the moment, but I'd love to explore that a little bit more with you. But I would love to maybe just go back a little way and understand kind of where you've come from a bit as well, because I think the very first interaction that you and I had was when someone had asked in some Facebook group about client onboarding or something like that. And you said, I used to do this in my previous life or my previous business, so would anyone like a free PDF? And about 1,000 of us were like, yes, give me the PDF. So maybe you could share with us a bit about your journey and kind of where you've come from and why the intuition business coaching stuff is here and now, and kind of where you've come from.
Yeah, sure. So my background is in public relations and marketing, and that's what I've trained in. Always been fascinated by psychology, and I majored in psychology and communication. And so that previous business that you mentioned was an email marketing and content marketing business,
right?
And
tick.
That's it. And my clients were, my niche was transformational, spiritual and life coaches, because I deep inside me I wanted to be a coach. And so my history is, when I was in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with severe clinical depression, and after a few I was hospitalized and I underwent shock treatment and all sorts of things. It was really it was that severe that they told me I would have to be on medication for the rest of my life. And there was this little voice inside me that said, there's got to be another way. You can't be, because there was something saying, I want to know who Karen is, and I'm on all this heavy, high dose, cocktail of antidepressants and mood stabilizers, and I couldn't connect with who I was. So that was my journey began when I realized I read a book called Conversations with God, and in there it's illness. I was in a desperate place and thinking, I've got to get out of this, and I don't know how. And I opened it up to the chapter about illness, and it said, you create your own illness. And I thought, what? I'm a victim. There's no way I could have created this. And then after a while, that little voice, I guess, came up again. That inner knowing came up and said, there's something you've been doing that's made this manifest as this illness.
Wow.
And I realized that was the thoughts I was thinking. So I went on this journey of just changing my thoughts. Literally every time I had a thought about something or an opinion about something, my monkey mind had an opinion, I'd stop and say, well, is this a glass half full thought, or is it a glass half empty thought? And if it was half empty, then I'd search around in that thought for the positive. And it took me a couple of years because that was all I had, and that was all I knew. Yeah. And but I cured it. I cured my depression, and it's never returned. I've had 3 children. I've never had postnatal depression. It was just, and that for me was, wow, okay, there's something in this. And this is something I can give to others.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but I wasn't quite ready yet, I guess.
Yeah. I really love that. I was chatting with someone about this the other day, and I talk a lot about Trish Everett, who's coming on the show in a couple of weeks, actually. And I did a course with her last year called Sweet Talk, and she talked a lot about personal responsibility and, you know, relationship communication, but not just, you know, the boring old stuff or whatever. And one of the very first exercises she had us do, I suppose, to kind of get grounded and get aware of our own thoughts and stuff, was we had to get like a rubber band or something and put it on our wrist. And every time we had a negative thought, a critical thought, a judgmental thought, something sarcastic, something mean, we had to change hands, right? Like we had to put the rubber band on the other hand. Yeah. And I went through most of the day, I was at home, you know, tapping away on the computer, you know, only a couple of times I moved it over or whatever. And then I picked up my kids from school and I was walking through the shops to go and get some milk or something. And I was literally just going back and forth, put it on here. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm kind of embarrassed to realize how negative I was being. Like I would get frustrated because someone in front of me was walking too slow, or I'd think, oh, what's she wearing those shoes with that dress for? Like just ridiculous things that had absolutely no impact on me whatsoever and didn't really matter. And because I was getting so frustrated at having to like move this bloody rubber band every 5 seconds, I was walking through and I'm like doing the Pollyanna thing, trying to find the good in everything. Like, oh, I love that bag. Oh, that woman's got a really nice walk, or, you know, like things like that. But actually forced me to change, like consciously look for good stuff and look for positive stuff. And God, it was such a moment, such a big lesson for me. It's such a simple thing, but just to start observing what thoughts were going through my head. Oh my God, it was kind of scary. So yeah, I'm totally on that bus. Really interesting.
It's so interesting. It's such an interesting topic because it's kind of a combination. I will come back to talk about the vibrational thing, but it's a combination of when we came into the world and the society had that vibration of negativity and pointing out people's faults or whatever it was. So we kind of absorbed that, and then our parents were also part of that society, and they also, you know, and we were just surrounded by it. And that's the interesting thing about that is that we've just practiced it. And this is and as you experienced yourself, and it's such a beautiful example that when you're trying to turn it around, it's super hard because that habit is so practiced.
It's crazy. And it's also, I was chatting with another friend about a similar thing the other day, that there's certain people in your life that you accidentally kind of chameleonize yourself into kind of suiting what they do, right? Some people, I'm sure most people do it. I definitely do. And there was an example several weeks ago where I was with someone and my husband was there, and this person tends to be quite a negative person and quite bitchy and kind of gossipy and all that sort of thing. And I actually noticed myself getting into the same thing, and I was kind of jumping on board, and I was getting bitchy and I was getting judgy and all the things that I absolutely detest about, you know, myself and when other people do it. And then later on, my husband said something like, oh God, she's so negative, or she's so, and I said, yeah, do I do it too when she's around? And he was like, yeah, you do. And like, he'd even noticed that I had totally kind of like, so I think of myself as a pretty positive person. I'm generally pretty optimistic, but, you know, very realistic and that sort of thing, which probably comes across as pessimistic sometimes, but I'm definitely not naturally bitchy or gossipy sort of things. But I had, you know, jumped on board what that was doing. So yeah, that's a bit scary as well, that you're so easily influenced and your behavior can so easily change with who you sort of surround yourself with. So that's been an interesting you know, enlightenment, I suppose.
It is. And with practice, the more we practice it, the more we practice it, and the more we acknowledge that joy or positivity is our natural state of being, the more we understand that and the more we accept it, the less we slip into those old habits, or you catch yourself as you go in, because you've now trained yourself and you've trained your brain, and you've got yourself in a kind of a vibrational place where you see it when you see it coming.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And it is just practice, but it's so hard. It's so hard in those, because as you say, it's automatic. It's like autopilot, and next thing you're in it, and you're like, whoa, how did that happen?
Yeah, yeah, and it's. I guess there's a bit of shame involved in that for me, anyway. Like I sort of think, oh God, I wish I hadn't said that, or I said something and I was like, I don't even mean that. Why am I even saying that? Am I trying to impress this person? Which consciously I'm definitely not. But it's, I don't know where it comes from. So that's probably a whole other episode anyway. But it is really interesting when you start taking responsibility for that shit as well. And, making a decision to not be kind of like that. And, the whole thing about you're the sum of the people who you spend the most time with and that sort of thing, I think is really interesting in terms of who you sort of choose, which brings me to a really good point, actually. So we were talking about before, what sort of things do we have in common, and what sort of things, where am I at in my journey, and, how do we kind of relate to each other? And obviously when you and I started to probably communicate maybe 3 or 4 months ago, we just kept seeming to literally bump into each other virtually every other day. Like there was something that either someone would post a question, and then someone else would tag you and would tag me. Like we just kept kind of being brought together in this amazing energy, and we both were like messaging each other going, okay, there's something here, let's talk, sort of thing. So that was cool, and I definitely loved following the energy of that sort of thing. And we were talking before about kind of my understanding of what you do and where I'm at and that sort of thing. So I'd just love to share that because like we said, I think there's probably a lot of people, especially who are entrepreneurs in the first couple of years, who may be at the same kind of stage. So when I first started this part of my business about 2 years ago, and I started getting a bit more familiar with the online business world and the, ladypreneur, mumpreneur kind of philosophy and that sort of thing, there was a lot of what I perceived to be that real woo-woo. And I was like, what are these people talking about? And I thought it's all flower power, it's all wishy-washy. But I kind of was, going along for the ride because I thought it was kind of fun to, just to see what people were doing and see, there were words and there were phrases and therapies and that sort of thing that I'd never even heard of before. So I went off and did a bit of research and that sort of thing. And then as I've kind of gone along this entrepreneurship journey, which I think is, a never-ending journey, never-ending process, and I've talked to so many people, and so many of my clients have done some of these super alternative businesses or super alternative therapies and that sort of thing. It's been a really interesting, I guess, enlightenment or eye-opening sort of situation for me, because now I'm at the point where I feel like I've gone up so many levels and I've gotten over all that shit, and I'm there's no judgment around that anymore, where I definitely had some of that before, to the point that I've gotten past so much of that stuff. And I think because I've been aware of possibilities or what other people are doing, I am tuned into my own stuff a lot better as well. And at the start, when I started seeing some patterns and patterns is probably the best, or, things that would come to me that I would have definitely just either ignored, not listened to, not heard, or just shrugged off as coincidence before, that now I kind of went through that process of going, oh shit, what's happening to me? What's this? What is this all happening? I don't understand. To now going, oh yeah, there's that again. There's that thing. Okay, now I understand it. I get it. I'll listen to it. Subconsciously, I think I've tuned into it a lot more than I have consciously, but I'm kind of getting it. So I guess I'm sort of now at that point where I'm listening to my intuition. I understand a bit more about what it is and what it isn't, and where it shows up for me and how it shows up for me and that sort of thing. And I know that the next step for me is to start kind of tapping into that a bit more and start listening to it, and probably, work with mentors and that sort of thing. And I would never say that like I'm an intuitive or anything like that, in the sense of the meaning that most people understand it. But I'm also starting to understand that it's something that we've all got, and we either use it or don't, or we're aware of it or we're not, that sort of thing. So so I guess that's kind of where I'm at now and where I've come from. And I don't know where I'm going with it. It's certainly no crushed purple velvet in my future, but I guess, that's the sort of thing that we were talking about before, and your understanding of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it is totally normal. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, and we were talking about how, going back hundreds and thousands of years, people have always talked about a woman's intuition and a mother's intuition, but it's just never been given any credibility because women have been, pushed to the side. And now that we're coming into our own, this intuitiveness is coming to the forefront of everything, because now we're running businesses as well as being parents. And or mothers, and it's like it wants out. It's such a powerful innate ability that we all have, and I think it's I want to see it as normal. I don't want to see it as woo-woo, and I want that stigma to be taken out of it completely, because it is just a stigma. It is just a limiting belief, or whatever you want to call it. It's just, that's not a truth about what this amazing gift is that we have. And how I explain intuition to people is, if you think of the universe, how Gabby Bernstein explains it in her beautiful book, The Universe Has Your Back. So the universe does have your back. Everything that you want is out there, and it's just being orchestrated by the universe so that it can come into your physical reality. And that information is being fed from the universe 24/7 about what your next steps are, or what direction you need to take, or what, whether this is the right person you should be speaking to now. And it's all being sent 24/7. And this intuition is not something that is like floating out there in the ethers that we have to try and find and connect to, or something that's only reserved for special people. It's literally, intuition is how you interpret that information that's there 24/7. So the only difference between someone who's intuitive and someone who's not, or someone who's struggling, is the fact that they haven't honed this connection. They haven't honed how to keep that connection open. So that's why you have those experiences of getting those nudges kind of out of the blue. And you'll find, if you tune into those times when you got those nudges, you were in a place of allowing that information to flow. So that is all intuition is. It is just how you interpret the information. Yeah.
And so for someone who is kind of at that level where they get that and they understand that and they're open to receiving it, do you have any kind of tips on how to do that? Or is it a really kind of internal thing you've got to work out?
Oh, the way in which you interpret your intuition is an individual thing, because we're all unique individual beings, but there's 4 real dominant ways that it comes to you. So you either see things in your mind's eye, or you hear things, or you might feel sensations in your body when the nudges come, or you know things. So it'll come to you. We have a combination of all of those things, but one of them will be dominant. So when you're kind of starting out, it's to pay attention to how it speaks to you in the dominant way first, so that you know what you're looking for. And then from there you start to fall into it, and then you start to realize that, oh yeah, actually I can see a vision, or I heard that word clearly. But as long as you've honed that dominant way that it speaks to you, you're sort of on the home stretch. So the easiest way to get to kind of, I guess, ask your intuition so that you can identify it, is to get into that space of gratitude or appreciation. It's just appreciation's like to talk about the vibration thing again, appreciation's the highest vibrating, I don't know if you want to, it's not really an emotion, but it's the highest vibration. Okay, so it's up there with joy and love in its ultimate form. And okay, so if you're getting into a space of thankfulness, you're making a list of things that you're thankful for, and you're really getting into the feeling space of why you're thankful for it, and you get into that warm fuzzy place, and you're just feeling so good. And then you just ask, because you're actually putting out an intention. And when you ask, what do you want me to know? And you'll get a message. And when you get the message, pay attention to whether it came as a picture, whether it felt like a thought, or whether you heard it, or whether you felt it in your body. And that's how you know. So, and you can repeat that all the time until you're absolutely clear. And then you can go further. So once you've said, what do you want me to know? You can then, if you're doubting it, you could then say, is this my intuition speaking to me? And then just feel around.
So clear about it. Yeah.
Feel around, and just, because it's not because it's natural and it's who we are. It's not hard. It's just our belief. And again, because it's never been reinforced. We were never, I thought I was such a different, weird person all my life because I saw the world in such a different way. And it played a massive role in my depression and burnout because I just wasn't being who I am. And I was just constantly trying to be what everybody else wanted to be, or what I thought I was supposed to be, because no one could relate to how I was. And now I realize, oh my goodness, this is my role now, is to help people come into this place. And perfect. That's perfect. And I can see that. I can see why it played out like that. But it was hard for those first 40 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And look, I think it's really interesting. Like if I think about it for myself, about that, I've started using the hashtag quite a bit, follow the energy, because I guess in the last year or so really started to acknowledge when I have either by accident or consciously actually followed the energy or not followed the energy, or when I have ignored that and I've gone down a track and then got to a point of going, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have listened, or I knew this wasn't going to work out, not from a negative point of view, but just from a point of view of going, I knew that I was kind of getting off track, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm not beating myself up about it, because that's part of the process. But it's been a really interesting kind of journey, and definitely an interesting part of my message when I work with my clients as well, in terms of, a lot of people I work with are either in that state of overwhelm, or they're certainly working towards that state of overwhelm because they're very creative, or they've got, a beautiful business or something, and they've got so many ideas. They've got lots of ideas, but they're not, and they know exactly what needs to be done to bring them into the world, or maybe they don't, whatever, but they've got big ideas and big plans and amazing things to bring to the world, but they can't see the forest for the trees sort of thing. So in that sense, I feel like I sort of help them also tap into that, follow the energy. So working out what's actually calling you right now, what's important right now. It doesn't mean that if you do something now, you can't do all the other things ever. It's just about, like in a practical sense, it's about prioritizing and about being strategic and being, practical and doing things in a way that feel easy and flowing to you, rather than just following, the 28-step checklist to launch a thing, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's really great timing to be sort of chatting to you about this, because it's definitely massively kind of on my radar from that point of view of actually moving forward and getting stuff done, is to follow the energy. And I really like what you said, and it's definitely a good reminder for me. I feel like the last couple of weeks, I just feel like I've kind of been spinning my wheels. Like I'm in that point. I wouldn't say I'm in overwhelm yet, but I've also got the ideas, but I'm also lacking a bit of motivation to do some of them, and anxious about some of the other ones, and not sure how these ones are going to go, and all that sort of thing. And so I'm kind of just procrastinating and distracting myself and doing all that sort of thing, where now that I've had a chat with you, what I know I actually need to do is just to stop and feel into it a bit more, and kind of go inside, I suppose. Well, outside, but inside sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I went to my first yoga class in about, I don't know, a year or something last night. And the most incredible thing happened to me. I just about started bawling in the first 5 minutes. We were just, in the quiet kind of meditation at the beginning of the class. And I saw a vision of myself in the future, which I've never been able to see. I've kind of done the visualization and, thinking about someone else, that I've seen in a magazine or something with my head on top of it, but it hasn't really been a thing. But I actually saw myself in the future, and I was like, oh my God. And I actually saw it, and it was like I could touch that sort of thing. So that was amazing. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening, sort of thing. So it was quite overwhelming. But it was exactly the right time to give me what I needed last night energetically, exactly what I felt like so very interesting about all of that sort of thing.
It's beautiful. It really is, people talk about this new paradigm of business, of doing business and life. And it really is following the energy. There is no other way to leverage massive amounts of time and energy than to follow the energy, because the old way was, you're going to have a big list of to-dos, and or priorities. You're going to start at the top, and you're going to work your way down, and you're going to push through those ones that feel off. There was no acknowledgement of, hey, it's feeling off because maybe the universe hasn't actually lined things up at the optimal, point for you to actually leverage the time, and yes, you can go and do it and you can push it now, but hey, if you just waited till you got the nudge and took it, it may get done in 30 seconds and not 10 hours.
Right.
This is the amazing thing about this whole new just tuning in and letting your business, it's not letting your business lead you in the sense that your business is a separate entity, because you are your business. You are, everything is energy. So it really is just surrendering to the guidance and letting the guidance actually, or letting the energy or letting your feelings tell you where you're, where the next step is. And you can tell by how it feels. It feels off, don't go there. It feels off for a reason. If it feels light or it's lighting you up, that's the step to take. And then just trust, because you get into the whole, yes, but I've invested all this money in this business course, and they've told me that I have to do this, and now I'm not even using it. It doesn't matter. For me, it was invest a massive amount of money in that, to know that way no longer works. It no longer works. And it brought me to this amazing place. So in fact, yes, I got returns on my investment on that, because here I am creating a framework for working energetically smarter that's going to help revolutionize the way people do business. So I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love that you're coming in there, because you've got the skills and the knowledge about all the systems pieces, that we can leverage, so that you're riding the wave of that guidance, but you've got all these things at your fingertips.
Riding the wave is such a good analogy, actually. I was like, I wonder how we're going to word that, but that's perfect. It's like you still follow your intuition, but you've kind of got the practical foundations you've got the surfboard to ride the wave. I love the analogy, in case you didn't catch that. Love that analogy. So tell me, I'm interested, and everyone's got a slightly different take on this, but I'd love to know your thoughts on what's the difference between intuition, manifestation, and dreaming, like daydreaming sort of thing. Is there a difference?
It's a really, really interesting topic, because again, if intuition is the way you're interpreting the energy, that's just how, or the information, that's just how it's coming in, and how you are making sense of it, so that you understand what needs to be done, or what the message is, I guess. Daydreaming, I think daydreaming is probably one of the best things that people can do, because it actually raises your vibration. Because when you're remember, you want to be in that higher vibing place, or you want to be out of the lower vibrating emotions. And the only thing that's dictating where you are on this emotional scale is your thoughts. So if you're daydreaming, you're having no thoughts. You're literally out there in la la land, and your vibration's right up there. And that's why, people just get that incredible inspiration and stuff, because the connection is just open, because there you are floating around. And of course, we've been told you're a loser if you daydream, because how are you ever going to get anywhere in life if you spend your time daydreaming? So it's amazing how, when we come into this new space and this new awareness of all this intuition, how it's totally opposite to what you were taught. And
thank God.
Yeah, totally. I love it. It's a real head spin. So it's like you hear it and you go, oh my God, that's amazing. I love it. And then you get back wadded into the way we were trained, or our conditioning, and then you're like, oh geez, I don't know, how am I going to make this work? Because you've got all that conditioning saying you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and this is how you do it, and that's how you do it. So it really is almost like a severing of that old way, and go, okay, thanks.
I'm going to sort that over here.
Yeah, you've done your time. I'm getting on my board. And I'm riding that wave, and it's just, and that's really is, I guess, that's the only real. What's the word would you use? It like I wouldn't say struggle, like the catch, I guess, to this whole thing is just managing the monkey mind. So once you step to that new place, and your whole being, because it's your natural state, just is going, oh, finally. And that's what happened in your yoga session. You were like, and everything about you just went, oh, Yes, 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 yes. At last, here she is. Here she is. Let's let's send her some stuff.
Exactly.
And it's just, that's amazing. And so and then of course then the monkey mind's going to come in, and it's just going to give you all the contradictory thoughts that you could possibly have. Yeah, totally. And that's the bit that we have to navigate, is just, okay, I'm just going to focus on trying to get myself feeling better so that I raise my vibration. And then as the monkey mind comes in, that's the stuff I have to work on. That's the stuff I need to just start dispelling and just going, nah, old stuff, old patterns, old habits, go and step into this place. And it's just practice.
Beautiful.
Practice.
Love it. And what about manifesting? Is that a thing in your world?
So I talk about manifesting, and I wonder if I talk about manifesting because it's maybe a buzzword, because theoretically we're manifesting every second of every day. Everything that we experience is a manifestation. So to kind of say, now I'm going to go manifest something, is kind of doesn't really make sense, because
just a sexy way to put it, sort of thing.
Yeah, it just is. And it's there's a really awesome old book by Abraham Hicks, might be by Esther Hicks, called Ask and It Is Given. And it speaks to this concept that as soon as, the universe has got your back. So as soon as you have a desire for something, and it doesn't have to be your words, you don't have to talk to the universe and tell it what you want and be specific. Just the desire for it at a vibrational level sends it out, and it's done. It's there. It's already manifested. It's already there.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Okay. So now the work is to follow the nudges, follow your intuition, so that it leads you to
how it's going to come to you.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I have wondered, because I think, in my limited experience and limited understanding and knowledge about intuition and manifestation, they seem to be a little bit at odds with each other. Like intuition is kind of saying, here's this stuff I'm just going to give you. And manifesting is like, no, I don't want that. I want this thing over here. And I want this specifically. And I want it to look like this. And I want it to arrive on Tuesday. And I want it to be in a pretty pink box with a big bow on it. That's like, it's quite different. And I see how they can be also actually the same thing, and it's just how we download the information and how we are maybe open to the experience of either and or, and it's actually possibly the same sort of thing. So I always think it's quite an interesting conversation to have and to ask and that sort of thing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And now I really want to get back to the vibration thing, because again, manifesting, intuition, vibration, all that sort of stuff is very topical at the moment. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's kind of, I guess, raising their understanding about it, in my humble opinion. Maybe it's just me, but that's what I think is kind of happening. So like, I kind of get the concept, but I don't really understand it. Why do we use the word vibration? Is there an actual energy vibration? Like, what's the science behind it, if that's your kind of bag? Or what is it? Tell me more.
Yeah, so I'll give it to you simply.
Okay.
Raising your vibration is feeling good. End of. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
So from a, I guess, quantum physical perspective, and it's not my area, but everything is energy. Everything is energy, and some things vibrate at a higher frequency and some things vibrate at a lower frequency, and that's just how it is. So you can tell by how you feel, and that's why I say raising your vibration is literally just getting yourself feeling good, because you can tell by how you feel whether you're feeling lighter or heavier. And generally, when you're feeling good, you feel lighter and you feel expanded and you feel open. And when you're feeling bad or anxious, you're feeling contracted and you're down. So that's the difference.
That's part of it as well.
Yeah, in the vibration. So you don't have to worry about vibration. And I don't know why I use the word vibration. It's just a word that comes to me when I talk.
Yeah.
But really what I'm all about is what tools and techniques and processes can I put into place to get myself feeling better, because I know that I know that my intuition hangs out in my better feeling place. Therefore, what can I do? It's again navigating this monkey mind and navigating all those things. And your emotions are kind of like a guidance system, or like an indicator of where you're vibrating. So you know that if you're feeling shit, you're not vibrating up there and you're not hearing your intuition. So what do? You make feeling good your priority. So in every minute you've got to be looking for ways to feel good, things to appreciate, so that you can get into the zone where your intuition is hanging out. So that's how it is for me. That's how I understand it to be.
Yeah. And so I guess that the sorts of activities may be similar, but could also be completely varied person to person. Like what gets someone into a high vibration for one person might make someone else feel really anxious and yuck, and therefore into a really low vibration. So you've kind of got to feel into that.
Yeah, totally.
I think it's also really interesting about from an energy kind of point of view, where we sort of listen to those things and again accidentally do some things out of habit that pull us down or pull us up or whatever, that sort of thing. And I'm always really intrigued from people who are like body readers and that sort of thing, and they know that, I even had a boss who said to my husband at a like Christmas party or something, I can tell when Claire's he didn't use the word lying, but I could tell when Claire's like what is that, like when I'm anxious, basically when I was anxious and I wasn't sure about something, but I was kind of trying to blag my way through it. Apparently I'd like touch my nose a lot and I didn't even notice. And this like not a total stranger, but someone I worked with told my husband, and it was really interesting. I was like, God, so I'm obviously going, oh shit, let me just try and think about and I was obviously a bit anxious about what I was about to say or something like that. And I'd always do this. And now I'm so conscious of doing it because I think, what if I've literally just got a scratchy nose and someone is like, oh, I'm a body reader and I think I'm lying about this sort of thing. So I just think it's really interesting, like the physical connection to that, and, why people, some people will go for a run. My sister was here several months ago, and she's a runner. She's a bit of an exercise freak. She's, really fit and that sort of thing. And she's like, I'm just going for a run. And my 3-year-old said, why? And she was like, I don't know, actually. I don't know. I just run. And I thought, oh God, not me. I'm just going to have a glass of wine. And but now, like, I'm sort of understanding that sort of thing. And like, I've never been big into movement and that sort of thing. But the more, like, every time I do it, I guess you get that kind of adrenaline hit and you get that connection. You go, that's why. And it is a totally different vibration. Use the word in context. So yeah, it's interesting. I love the physical side of things, and it's definitely, I can't wait to sort of get stuck into all of this stuff. I'm very articulate when it comes to that. This year about the the vibe and the intuition and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I absolutely love it. So I know you've given us some tips and all that sort of thing already, but have you got kind of without giving away the farm, have you got any kind of tips for people who kind of want to start opening up to this stuff a little bit more, or try and move away from that monkey mind and into a more high vibe conscientiousness, I suppose it's a word to do with that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say the first thing to know is that intuition is an individual thing. Yeah, so don't look to anybody else for what's going on. Find how it works for you, okay, and find how it shows up for you. And once you know what you're looking for, it really starts to get easy. And you touched on it before, and I often tell people that one of the easiest ways to kind of connect or reconnect with your intuition, because you've been connected to it your whole life, is to go back to those stories, because we've all got those stories about the times that we didn't listen. And
Yep.
And that's perfect, because if you go back to that time and you can connect in with what was going on at that time, like how was it speaking to me? What did that nudge feel like? Or what did that, you get a clearer idea of how it's speaking to you. And the other thing to do is to look back at the times that you did follow it, so that to manage the monkey mind, we need to give it a lot of evidence, because it's basing its 2 cents worth on past evidence anyway. So it's got no evidence at the moment that this intuition thing is even a thing, and that it's valid. Yeah. So the more you can think about times that you have followed it and it has worked out, and the more you can celebrate those times or lock those times in. Lock in the fact that, hey, this is how it felt, this is what it was, this is what happened, this is amazing. Tell that story to yourself over and over and over again, so that you've locked it in. So those are, yeah.
Even if it's something so simple, like yesterday I felt like I had a moment. I was coming out of a car park and onto a road, and I was turning left, and then there was someone to my right who was also turning left, and I could have gone, I could have made it, but I thought, no, I'm going to stay. And so they went, and then I was behind them. And then just as we got to the end of the street, a bus came around, like a really tight coming onto our street. And I don't know how the bus missed this other car, and the other car had to kind of swerve and brakes on. I had my son in the car, and I just thought, if that was me, I would have been a little bit ahead of where that car was then, and who knows what would have happened with the bus. And I thought, oh God, was that a thing? Did I just listen to a thing that was potentially
so
avoid it, or was that just coincidence?
So there's no such thing as coincidence. So that's you can know that it was you being tuned in. And so if you think back to, or if you put yourself back to kind of like what you were doing at the time, if you were maybe you were daydreaming, but maybe you were sitting there and you were in that zone where you actually just weren't really, worrying about what you've got to do next, blah, blah. You were in the receptive mode, so that information could come in.
Right. Which is, I guess, also the sorts of things that the classical things like meditation do to kind of mind, which is obviously a harder thing to manage than daydreaming for people like me. I'm like, I just want to get sleep.
I think that's it. Meditation's really hard for people, for left brain people, and but getting into that space of appreciation or thankfulness is just as good, because that is, you've gone to the highest vibration you can go to anyway. And meditation, by quietening the mind, you're actually just allowing your vibration to raise, because it is our natural state to be in love. That's who we are. When you don't have the thoughts kind of pulling you down, you're just going to raise, and that's why meditation's so effective. But if meditation's hard, do something else. Do something that makes you feel good anyway.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. We could chat literally all day, I'm sure, and I'm sure one day we'll actually catch up in person at some point, I'm sure. But thank you so much. It's been just an awesome conversation and awesome tips, and very affirming for me, and I hope for all the listeners as well. So thank you, Karen. It's been brilliant. You're amazing. I'm so glad that the universe has brought us together.
Likewise. It's been amazing. I've loved it.
Wonderful. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more? And we'll obviously put all of the links and everything in the show notes below. So, is there a best way for people to get in touch with you?
The best way, I would say, would be on Facebook. Okay. We can put the information and the links below. I have a page, Karen Geddis, Intuitive Mentor. Otherwise, I have a Facebook group for people who like to be in Facebook groups.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. And thank you again so much. I've absolutely, completely loved this. It's been an emotional thing, and I'm totally in love. It's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll talk to you really soon. Thank you.
Bye.